he slimed me.
That's great! Actual physical contact! Can you move?
Ray, come in, please.
I feel so funky.
Spengler! I'm with Bankman!
The summer of 1984 had a strange energy in the air. Neon lights, taxi horns, and somewhere in the middle of Manhattan, 4 unlikely scientists chasing ghosts. Ghostbusters did more than make audiences laugh. It created a world that still feels alive decades later. But behind the proton packs and the marshmallow chaos, the film was filled with quiet details and unusual choices that many viewers never noticed. Some happened by accident, others were small miracles of filmmaking. Let's step back into that world and look a little closer. Fact number 10, the movie that was written for someone who never got to star.
Bankman! I saw it!
It's right here, Ray. It's looking at me.
He's an ugly little spud, isn't he?
Before the cameras rolled on Ghostbusters, the story looked very different. The original concept came from Dan Aykroyd, who imagined a wild supernatural comedy starring himself and his close friend, John Belushi. The two had already electrified audiences in The Blues Brothers, and Aykroyd believed their chemistry could carry another outrageous adventure. In his earliest draft, the characters went on multiple ghostly adventures and explored surreal supernatural elements. But in 1982, Belushi died suddenly at the age of 33. The project quietly stalled. For a time, it seemed the idea might disappear with him. Eventually, Aykroyd brought the concept to director Ivan Reitman, who believed the heart of the story could still live on if it were grounded in a single city. The script was rewritten with Harold Ramis, shifting the action to New York and reshaping the characters for a new cast. Bill Murray stepped into the role that might once have belonged to Belushi. The result became one of the defining comedies of the 1980s. Yet the film's origin still carries a quiet shadow, a reminder that the story we know today grew from a friendship that never reached the screen. And once the new cast came together, something unexpected began to happen on set. Fact number 9, the library ghost that almost looked completely different.
I know. Do exactly as I say. Get ready. Ready? Get her!
Early in Ghostbusters, the team answers their first call at the New York Public Library. It is a quiet scene, dusty shelves, a lonely librarian, then a sudden fright that sends her running down the hallway. For many viewers, it feels like the moment the movie truly begins. But the ghost in that scene was not originally meant to look the way audiences remember. Early concept sketches explored scarier versions of the spirit, though the exact designs are not fully documented. The filmmakers quickly realized a darker approach felt too disturbing for the playful tone they wanted. So the effects team reshaped the character. The ghost became softer, more cartoon-like, with round features and floating movement that felt strange but not terrifying. Even the transformation into the screaming monster was carefully timed, so the shock lasted only a moment before the film returned to its comedic rhythm. It was a small creative decision, but an important one. That balance between spooky and playful became the secret ingredient that allowed Ghostbusters to welcome younger audiences while still delivering genuine surprises. And that careful balance would soon lead to one of the most unusual casting decisions in the entire film. Fact number 8. Slimer was quietly inspired by a familiar face.
Strapped to their back, screaming, Ghostbusters!
When audiences first saw the gluttonous green ghost in the Sedgwick Hotel, they had no idea they were looking at a strange tribute. The creature we now call Slimer did not begin as the lovable mascot fans recognize today. During production, the effects team simply called him Onion Head because of his round shape and mischievous grin. As the artists refined the design, some members of the crew suggested that the ghost's expression may have been loosely inspired by John Belushi. The puffed cheeks, playful hunger, and chaotic personality could carry echoes of the comedian's larger-than-life energy, though this was never officially confirmed. It was never announced as an official tribute in the film itself. Still, several people involved in the production later mentioned the resemblance as a quiet nod to the friend who had once been part of the film's earliest vision. The audience simply laughed as Slimer devoured room service carts and sprayed ectoplasm across the hallway. But behind the green grin, there was a small piece of Hollywood memory. And the scene where he appears also created one of the messiest filming days the crew ever faced. Fact number 7. The hotel ballroom that became a sticky nightmare.
The Sedgwick Hotel sequence looks chaotic on screen. Chairs flip, proton streams flash across the room, and somewhere in the middle of it all, a hungry ghost explodes into a shower of slime. What audiences do not see is how difficult that moment was to film. The slime itself was not computer generated. In 1984, everything had to be created physically. The effects team built a pressurized rig filled with thick green slime made from a mixture of methyl cellulose, food coloring, and other safe ingredients that would hold its shape under bright studio lights. When the trap finally snapped shut on Slimer, the device blasted slime outward in a powerful spray. It coated the floor, the walls, the furniture, and unfortunately, a few members of the crew who were standing closer than expected. Cleaning the ballroom set took hours. Props had to be wiped down, carpets replaced, and costumes carefully washed so the actors could continue filming the next scenes. But that messy moment gave Ghostbusters one of its most unforgettable visual signatures. The dripping slime became part of the film's identity.
And the next major scene required the crew to attempt something far more complicated in the middle of New York City itself. Fact number 6, the firehouse that was not really in New York. When fans picture the Ghostbusters headquarters, they usually imagine the brick firehouse sitting on a quiet Manhattan street.
The building became one of the most recognizable locations in the film, with the famous logo hanging above the garage doors. The exterior is real.
It belongs to Firehouse, Hook, and Ladder Company 8 in Lower Manhattan.
The production filmed several exterior shots there, and curious crowds often gathered to watch the strange ghost hunting equipment being carried inside.
But the interior scenes were not filmed there at all. The real firehouse was far too small to hold the large equipment rigs, lighting, and camera tracks needed for the production.
Instead, the entire interior headquarters was recreated on a soundstage in Los Angeles.
This allowed the filmmakers to design the space exactly the way they imagined it. The tall ceilings, the sliding fire pole, and the cluttered laboratory tables were all built as part of a carefully controlled set. On screen, it feels like one continuous place.
In reality, the Ghostbusters headquarters existed in 2 different cities, and one small detail inside that set became a quiet joke hidden in plain sight.
Before we get to fact number 5, and trust me, this one's the most surprising yet, hit like and subscribe so you never miss these. Alright, let's get into it. Fact number 5, the famous theme song was almost never written.
Today, it is impossible to separate Ghostbusters from its unforgettable theme song. The moment those opening notes play, audiences instantly remember the flashing ghost logo and the promise that someone will answer the call. But the song arrived surprisingly late in production. As the film moved closer to release, the studio realized it still needed a theme that could capture the movie's strange mix of comedy and supernatural adventure. Composer Elmer Bernstein had already written the orchestral score, but something else was needed for the marketing and the opening titles. Singer and songwriter Ray Parker Jr. was given a difficult challenge. He had only a short amount of time to create a song built around a single phrase. Parker chose to center the lyrics on the film's title, Ghostbusters, creating the catchy hook that would define the movie. Parker later explained that he studied late-night television commercials for inspiration. Those ads often used catchy call and response slogans, something easy for viewers to remember. Within days, the famous question was born, "Who you gonna call?" The song quickly became a global hit, climbing the music charts and turning the film's title into a pop culture chant. And while audiences were singing along in theaters, the actors on set had already created many of the film's funniest moments themselves. Fact number 4, Bill Murray was often making up his lines.
Is this true?
Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
I'll fix you, Venkman. I'm gonna fix you.
I'm gonna get you a nice fruit basket. I'm gonna miss him.
Many of the funniest moments in Ghostbusters feel spontaneous.
A raised eyebrow from Peter Venkman, a dry remark delivered at exactly the right second. That natural rhythm was not always written on the page. During filming, Bill Murray frequently improvised parts of his dialogue. Director Ivan Reitman encouraged the actors to explore the scenes rather than follow every line exactly as written. Murray, in particular, had a gift for adding small remarks that felt effortless and slightly mischievous. In several interviews, Harold Ramis later explained that the script often served as a foundation rather than a strict rule.
Once the cameras rolled, the actors would play with timing and wording until the moment felt right.
Some of Murray's most memorable one-liners were discovered that way, quietly invented between takes. This approach helped give the film its relaxed and natural tone. The characters sounded less like performers delivering jokes and more like co-workers reacting to strange situations together. It was a risky method for a special effects-heavy film, where precise timing usually matters. Yet, the freedom paid off, creating the casual humor that audiences still remember decades later. And one improvised moment in particular almost caused a genuine accident on set. Fact number 3, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man was almost something else. The final act of Ghostbusters builds toward one of the most surprising images in movie history. Out of the glowing clouds above Manhattan appears a giant white sailor, smiling gently as he marches through the city streets. But the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man was not always the creature chosen for that moment. In the story, Gozer commands the Ghostbusters to choose the form of the destructor. Whatever image enters their minds becomes real. In the script, the idea was meant to reflect something innocent suddenly turned into a nightmare. During early development, the filmmakers explored several possibilities. Some ideas were abstract and frightening. Others felt too serious for a comedy. Eventually, the writers returned to a simple thought. What if the destroyer looked completely harmless? Dan Aykroyd contributed to the idea of a friendly mascot, and Stay Puft was designed to evoke a wholesome, advertising-style figure, creating a contrast between sweetness and destruction. Though direct inspiration from marshmallow packaging is unconfirmed. To bring the giant figure to life, the effects team built a detailed miniature city and filmed a stunt performer in a large foam suit walking through it. Smoke, pyrotechnics, and careful camera angles completed the illusion. The result became one of the most iconic visual moments of the entire decade. And strangely enough, that giant suit created an unexpected problem once filming ended. Fact number 2. The marshmallow suit could only be used once. The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man may look soft and harmless on screen, but the suit built for the film was a complicated piece of special effects engineering. Stunt performer Billy Bryan wore the oversized costume for portions of the miniature city scenes, carefully walking through the streets while surrounded by smoke and controlled explosions. Other shots used stand-ins or alternative techniques to safely capture the dangerous pyrotechnics. The suit itself was made from layers of foam rubber and other lightweight materials designed to resemble fluffy marshmallow. It looked convincing under bright lights, but it was also extremely fragile. The moment the pyrotechnic charges ignited during the destruction scene, the costume began to melt and burn. In fact, that famous explosion was planned as a single take. Once the suit was ignited, it could not be repaired or reused. The crew had only one chance to capture the shot correctly. When the cameras rolled, the sequence worked exactly as planned. The giant mascot burst apart in a shower of flaming pieces, sending white debris raining down across the miniature streets below. What audiences remember as a playful visual gag was actually a carefully timed moment that could never be repeated. And the final fact reveals a tiny detail hidden in the film that many viewers have watched for decades without ever noticing. Fact number 1. The fourth Ghostbuster who was quietly written out before filming began.
Trans-mediums, the Loch Ness Monster, and the theory of Atlantis.
If there's a steady paycheck in it, I'll believe anything you say.
In the earliest version of the Ghostbuster script, Winston Zeddemore was not an afterthought. He was introduced at the very beginning of the story. Established as a former Air Force demolitions man, with a strong presence throughout the entire film, he was, in many ways, written as an equal fourth member. From the opening scene onward, by the time filming began, that had changed completely. Winston's introduction was pushed deep into the second act. His backstory was stripped away. Many of his most significant scenes were either rewritten or removed entirely. Ernie Hudson, who played the role, later spoke openly about his disappointment, explaining that he had signed on believing he was joining an ensemble of 4, and then, the night before filming began, received a completely rewritten script, and realized in an instant how much the character had shrunk. Hudson never blamed the cast or director, but he noted that by the time audiences met Winston, the other 3 characters had already carried the film for nearly an hour. There was simply no room left for a fourth equal voice. Ghostbusters became a beloved film. Ernie Hudson's warmth and timing contributed more than the reduced script suggested he would. But somewhere in an earlier draft, there is a version of Winston Zeddemore that audiences never got to meet. That version never made it past the page. Ghostbusters is more than a comedy about spirits and chaos. It is a snapshot of a city, a moment in time, and the joy of collaboration. The laughter we hear today carries echoes of improvisation, care, and small hidden gestures that make the world feel alive. As the lights dim on this familiar story, the ghosts remain, quietly waiting in the corners of our memory, reminding us that even in the ordinary, the extraordinary can appear. If you enjoyed this, subscribe so you never miss out, and hit that like button on your way out.